Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be invited to this conference and to be able to speak about religion, women and development. I'm not an expert on development, but I know pretty much about gender perspective and freedom of religion after many years in the field. First, I must say that it was a very interesting opening yesterday at the conference, and it was a beautiful way of linking together development and religion. Because the SDGs, as we call them at our center, are very much about material goods. And where is religion in there? We can't so easily find them. And it seems to me that maybe it has been a lobby in the UN who really got all their wishes come through in those SDGs. And, but maybe also it's a secular lobby who is not so very much interested in speaking about the immaterial immaterial part of a human being and its importance for development. And that was very nicely presented yesterday. We have got presented during these 2 days how wonderful religion is in relation to charity and economical development, as well as religion as a basis for an ethical reason on distribution on material goods, and a description on dignity of the human being, as well as a claim that religious freedom is the solution. What we have not got presented is a clearer definition, a discussion of the content of religious freedom. What is religious freedom? What is religion? And what is freedom? And last but not least, we have, as a Norwegian, you know, I am well trained in also underlining the right of the non-believers. Where are the non-believers in this? Do they not have ethical reasoning? Do they not have a conscience? Do they not have a sense of justice? If we are believers, we think that is laid as a principle in the very quality of being human being. So why don't we mention them? It can easily become very narrow. Then I got up as an historian of religion, and with experience of the field of all the challenges that we find around in the world, we find that that definition of the concept of religion is an impediment to promote religious freedom in itself. We see it now, for example, in Indonesia. There is a law of religion is discussed now, and they have called upon representatives from different religious belief communities, but they can't agree upon the definition of religion. And that hinders the passing of that law. I don't know what's the situation is now. Maybe it has moved a little bit forward, but it was that was not the case when I was in Indonesia in June. Another problem when you are going to speak about religion is that we speak about religion and as it is one thing. Each preacher is standing speaking about Christianity or about Islam or about Buddhism or about any other religion, but we are not taking into consideration all the variation within the religious traditions. There are so many different interpretations, so many different traditions. And as we go into Christianity, we have the old religion, we have the newer religious group, and all is about interpretation of sources and social construction of the tradition through history. It's the same thing in Islam. So when we speak about Islam as a monolithic entity, actually I would make a very strong claim that we are hindering development. We are hindering freedom of religion. And we are like putting a mantle over and trying to hide the real challenges and how they are perceived for the individual. And I will give one example that is new, that is not from Islam, but that is from the US. And it really points to what it's all about. It is the right of the individual to have a conviction or a belief according to his or her own choice. And I will mention the court case of the Hobby Lobby case last year, or the year before. What was it about? It was about the owners of a not so big company who did not want to pay a contribution to the Obamacare because it included also the right to free contraceptives for the employees. And let me put in the situation, because I don't know the case and I don't know the arguments that was on from for the perspective of the women's side, or the female employees in that company. If I am convinced out of my religious belief that I can use contraceptives, and the owner of the company is convinced that he will not pay to the insurance tax, because he is convinced that it will be against his belief to support something that has something to do with contraceptives and abortion and the like.
Şimdi gidiyor mu?
So
Geliyor mu
what does it
sesim?
mean? And now we come really to the core of the issue. It is about my conviction against your conviction, and then we have to ask, so where does my right stop and your right begin? I don't think that we are aware of when we are not humble enough when we are speaking about religious freedom. It's so easy to just throw words around, but when we come to our inner beliefs, how are we going to deal with it? And that is the challenge within each tradition. And this brings us now to the gender issue, because that is what it's about. As a Muslim coming to work in the field of freedom of religion or belief, it was not very easy in the beginning, I must say, because there were certain interests on the international agenda that has been there for decades, about the right to missionary activities, blaming Islam because you have no right to leave your religion without any reactions, and other things. So what could I offer in that field as a Muslim? It was by, and this is one of the projects, I'm working on Christian Orthodox tradition, I'm working on Buddhism in China, several other, but this is just to put, this is my baby, so I will present my baby. Are there, because it goes also to non-discrimination, how are we going to promote freedom of religion and non-discrimination together? They cannot be divided, because if we are not very determined on the principle of non-discrimination, we will not be able to promote real religious freedom. It has to be for all, or it has to be for nobody, but it has to be for all. That is the only solution. So, based upon that, we started in the Oslo coalition to say we have to do something about the gender perspective of the Islamic tradition, and we asked, are there Islamic arguments for equality before the law? That was the main question. And we set up 3 workshops, and we brought up we brought together women's activists, academics, religious leaders, different or women from different academics field, men and women, and we asked that question, and we said, if there are arguments for equality before the law, does it exist a methodology to promote that idea of equality? And the answer after 3 workshops, it was, yes, there is, and there is a methodology. And the result we present, you can find a book that I want to promote here and now, Gender and Equality in Muslim Family Law, Justice and Ethics in the Islamic Legal Tradition. So that is the publication. And this copy is for a gift for the host institution, the Waqf University. So it will be for your library. Based upon that, to make it accessible for a broader audience who have not time to read an academic books with all the arguments, we made a report with gist of all the argument, justice through equality, building religious knowledge for reform of Muslim family law. And this is the origin, and there are sources for both understandings of justice in the Islamic tradition. We also consider Sharia to be a social construction, and it has led to inequality. Women's lesser share in inheritance, men's right to polygamy, men's right to unilateral divorce by repudiation, husband's right to physically punish wife, restriction on wife's freedom of movements, women considered unfit for position of authority, and women unable to transmit nationality to children. And this is also an impediment to economical development. That is why I mention all this now. And you read this, and hopefully you can see something of the variety of within the Islamic tradition. I want just to give one more example, that is child marriage. And I will give me 2 minutes because this is important. The thing is that we are supporting a project in Indonesia against child marriage. And the result is a book. You can't read it, I just brought it so you can see it. These have been a study group of Islamic religious scholars really analyzing Arabic sources on child marriage and deconstructing the arguments and constructing an Islamic arguments against child marriage. And they are now making a roadshow. It has been published with relevant minister in Indonesia, and I will be eager to hear the result after some while, how this proceeds. And what are the challenges you see within the Muslim tradition these days? Because we speak about globalization, we speak about threatening against religious authority, and the Indonesian scholars are complaining, the local Indonesian scholars are complaining because of the transnational nature of education of religious scholars these days. And people are sent and getting scholarship, going to Yemen, to Saudi Arabia, get their training and coming back with arguments that doesn't go with the local context. And they are considered, because they know Arabic, they have been to the heartland of Islam, then they are considering higher in the religious hierarchy. So local scholars are losing their grip. And as well, there is the internetization of religious, the distribution of Islamic knowledge. I think this also goes for other traditions. I have mentioned only 2 examples. And then I will finish with, or end this talk with one line. That is based upon my interview with Tarek Obrou, who is an imam and a very profile in French Islam. He said that change will never come from the religious leaders. Change does come from the academic people. But if the academic people and the religious leaders are not speaking together, there will be no change. So we cannot stuck ourselves and hide our heads in the sand and just speak how wonderful is the religious tradition, because it's not. The social practice of the religious tradition is not so nice many places. We have high ideals, what the social reality is not as such. How can we come together? How can we speak about? The religious leaders need academia, and the academics, they need the religious leaders if they want that reform or improvement will take place.